The Singapore Grand Prix ended last Sunday in great style, ending the 14-race-long dominant run of the Red Bull team. For the first time since last year's Austrian Grand Prix, Ferrari team was able to feel the taste of a race victory in Singapore. Since the last race in Monza, Ferrari challengers were showing considerable improvements, which could easily trouble the Red Bull drivers. Carlos Sainz was able to steal the pole position from Verstappen at Monza, but wasn't able to convert that into a race victory. But this time, the Ferrari driver was able to convert his pole position advantage to a victory, despite the close attacks that he faced from Lando Norris. Through this video, we're going to tell you how the Singapore Grand Prix unfolded. But before we proceed, hit the subscribe button and smash the bell icon for more exciting updates. Since the start of the practice session on Friday, Ferrari easily outpaced the Red Bull challengers, which dominated the entire 2023 season until the race at Singapore. Verstappen was unhappy about the overall performance of his challenger and complained to his engineers several times. Albon was also unhappy about the performance of his Williams challenger in hot, humid conditions in Singapore. Other than Ferrari, McLaren and Mercedes also showed some significant improvements in the practice sessions. So the qualifying on Friday night started with some big questions about the performance of the Red Bull challengers in Singapore, and their engineers had no proper answer to this sudden decline that they experienced. Q1 was red flagged with the heavy crash of Stroll at the final corner, which ripped the left front wheel from the AMR 23. At that moment, Yuki Tsunoda topped the timesheets, setting the pace at 1 minute 31.991 seconds. Bottas, Piastri, Sargent and Guan Yu were the drivers who were unable to cross the first hurdle alongside with Stroll, who red flagged the session. Sainz unleashed the full power of his Ferrari challenger by setting the fastest time of Q2 at 1 minute and 31.439 seconds, 3/10 quicker than Russell. Both Red Bull drivers struggled to set competitive times which were good enough for Q3, and Verstappen was knocked out by Lawson on his final lap. Gasly was behind Verstappen, who was set to start Sunday's race as P11, and Perez, who spun at turn 3, was also knocked out alongside with Albon and Tsunoda at the end of Q2. This was the season's first Q3 session without a Red Bull challenger, and it created more competition among the remaining rivals for the top spots of the starting grid. Sainz topped the timesheets in back-to-back attempts and clinched the pole position by setting a lap time of 1 minute 31.056 seconds in his final run. Russell jumped to second position by beating Leclerc by 0.0079 seconds. Norris and Hamilton occupied the remaining 2 spots in the top 5. Both the Haas drivers were unable to qualify for Q3 and finished the session occupying P6 and P9 by Magnussen and Hülkenberg respectively. Meanwhile, Alonso and Ocon were able to reserve the 7th and 8th positions on the starting grid. Lawson, who was able to qualify into Q3 for the second time in his career, reserved the final spot of the top 10. Pole sitter Sainz decided to start on mediums despite his teammates' choice of soft compounds. The Spaniard started the race very well, without making any mistakes that derailed his plans. Meanwhile, soft-shod Leclerc was able to pass Russell into the 3rd position within the first few seconds of the race. The British driver further dropped back when his teammate Lewis Hamilton went wider and overtook him off the track. Russell complained about the incidents to his race engineer, and they swapped the track positions on lap 2. At that moment, Norris was able to pass Hamilton, taking advantage of that pace reduction. In the middle of the pack, Perez made contact with AlphaTauri driver Yuki Tsunoda in the opening lap, pushing the Japanese driver towards an early retirement. That contact damaged Perez's front wing end plate too. Then the race went without any major incidents until the Williams driver Logan Sargent crashed into the wall on lap 20. He broke his front wing and dropped some debris over the track on his way to the pits, so the race control decided to call a brief safety car period, and with that advantage, most of the race cars arrived in the pit lane for their one and only pit stop in Singapore. Sainz was able to retake the lead after making a quick pit stop, but his teammate Leclerc, who came to the pits behind him, experienced a slow pit stop and lost his track position to Russell and Norris. The championship leader, Max Verstappen, who started the race as P11, was able to beat the rookie Liam Lawson in the opening lap and Hulkenberg on the successive lap. Then he managed to pass the other Haas driver, Kevin Magnussen, on lap 6. Both Verstappen and Perez decided to continue their initial hard tyre set without coming to the pits. But soon after the race restart, the Dutchman was attacked by Russell and the Mexican by Norris on lap 23. With that pass, Russell became the first driver to overtake Verstappen in the 2023 season. Then Norris overtook the championship leader to the 3rd position, but was beaten by Hamilton on lap 27 to the 4th position again. This was not a good race weekend for the Aston Martin team, as the qualifying crash resulted to end Stroll's hope of competing in the Singapore night race. His car experienced heavy damage, and engineers were not able to repair it within the available timeframe. Alonso decided to attack Perez on lap 37, but it ended losing one more track position to Esteban Ocon, who passed Perez 2 laps later. On lap 42, Verstappen decided to pit his car to switch into mediums after having a long run on hards, but it cost several track positions and he rejoined the track at 15th. Esteban Ocon, who was holding 6th place on lap 43, had to retire in an unexpected manner due to a gearbox issue. Then a virtual safety car was introduced in order to remove Ocon's Alpine Challenger. With that advantage, Russell and Hamilton, who were running as 2nd and 4th respectively, were immediately pitted for a fresher set of medium rubber. However, Russell and Hamilton rejoined the pack as 4th and 5th, losing some important track positions. When the race restarted, Sainz led the pack with a gap of 1.5 seconds to Norris, who was running behind. Russell, who was running 4th, started to charge through the pack with the help of his fresher set of medium rubber. After attacking several times, he was able to beat Leclerc, who was running 3rd on lap 53. Norris was 6 seconds clear, but he was rapidly chased down by Russell. All this drama created a tense situation at the head of the pack, and the top 4 cars ran nose to tail throughout the final 4 laps. Norris didn't want to offer his place easily to the Mercedes driver, and he defended Russell's W14 pressure using all of his skills. This created the opportunity for Hamilton to attack his teammate in the final stage. Under this tense situation, Russell clipped the wall and crashed out on the final lap after losing control of his car. Sadly, he lost the opportunity of closing the Singapore GP in style with a podium finish, and Hamilton was able to add one more podium finish to his stats. And Sainz crossed the finish line 0.8 seconds ahead of Norris, who was chasing behind. Leclerc, who experienced a slow pit stop, managed only to close the race as P4. Verstappen was able to improve his track position up to P5, with the last overtake that he completed successfully against Gasly, when there were 7 laps to go. So Gasly crossed the finish line as 6th ahead of Perez, who started behind him. Then 2 rookie drivers, Piastri and Lawson, occupied the 8th and 9th positions on the final standings. This was the first point finish of the 3-race-long brief F1 career of the New Zealander, and it will surely help him to cement his place within next year's AlphaTauri driver lineup. Kevin Magnussen managed to occupy the last point-paying position of the race, after demonstrating some strong performances throughout the first 2 days. And in that way, the record-breaking winning streak of Max Verstappen came to an end in Singapore. However, this is good for racing, as we saw some close battles between teams throughout the pack, creating the opportunity for fans to experience a more thrilling race. How do you rate the 2023 Singapore Grand Prix? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel to get more exciting Formula 1 news. See you in the next video, guys. Goodbye.